Big waves hit a ship in the Pacific Ocean. A strong bridge in Bosnia broke because of a wild river. A tall building in China fell after heavy floods. And 2 men from India crossed a shaky bridge during a flood. These moments were caught on camera and show how powerful nature can be. Mount Semeru is a very tall volcano on an island called Java in Indonesia. It's very active and locals call it Mahameru, or the Great Mountain. In December 2020, people in a place called Lumajang Regency in East Java saw something amazing and scary. Mount Semeru started to erupt, and hot liquid rock flowed down its steep sides. At the same time, heavy rain made the hot rock cool down and turn into a muddy flood. People were there to see it all happen. The strong flood destroyed everything in its path. One person watched from the forest as the cold lava moved down the mountain. The locals are used to this volcano erupting. It has erupted 55 times since 1818 and has been erupting a lot since 1967. Before you continue watching the video, please help us out by doing a few things. Like the video, share it with your friends, subscribe to our channel, and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss our cool new videos. In Himachal Pradesh, India, in August 2019, there was very heavy rain that caused floods and landslides. The rushing water on the Pabbar River was so strong that it nearly broke a wooden bridge. Despite the danger, 2 locals tried to cross the river. One of them was clever enough to bring an umbrella. You can see debris piled up against the side of the bridge, changing its shape. It's unclear whether these 2 were brave adventurers making a fun video or if they really needed to cross the river. The Lian Kanjang River, also called the Upper Mekong River, is a really long river that goes from the Tibetan Plateau to South Vietnam. It's more than 3,000 miles long. On the way, it goes through a small city called Cham Do in Tibet. This place often gets a lot of rain, and sometimes there are big, sudden floods. In July 2017, there was a really bad flood that wrecked Cham Do. It was so bad that buildings near the river started falling apart and one 5-story building collapsed into the river. That made a lot of chaos. The building took down power lines and made debris fall into the streets. A red truck even got swept away. Luckily, everyone had already been taken out of the building before it fell. It was probably not a good idea to build a tall building so close to the river because these kinds of floods happen a lot in China. That building was in trouble from the beginning. In May 2014, there was really bad flooding in Bosnia and Serbia. It was the worst flood in more than 120 years. The floods destroyed homes and caused big landslides that stopped communities from getting things they needed. Heavy rain messed up the whole Balkan region. In a small town called Zavodovici in central Bosnia, people saw a huge steel bridge break away from the road and float down the Bosna River. It showed how powerful rushing water can be. They were amazed by what they saw. The bridge, which seemed strong, got destroyed by the force of the water. Normally, the Bosna River isn't that high, but the flood made it really huge. The flooding in Serbia was so bad that the government asked Russia and the EU for help. About 200 landslides caused power cuts in many areas. The army had to use helicopters to rescue around 4,000 people, but bad weather made it hard for them. La Palma is a big island that looks like a tooth in the ocean. It's part of the Canary Islands, which belong to Spain. Even though the islands are close to Morocco, they're owned by Spain. La Palma has 2 big volcanoes, Caldera de Tiberiet in the north and Cumbre Vieja in the south. Cumbre Vieja is the younger one and it's more active. In September 2021, there were lots of earthquakes under La Palma, especially near Cumbre Vieja. More than 22,000 earthquakes happened in just 1 week. All these earthquakes led to a volcano eruption on September 19th. The eruption went on for many months, even after Halloween. It finally stopped in mid-December. During this time, the eruption destroyed over 3,000 homes because of flowing molten rock, which is called lava. The lava coming from Cumbre Vieja covered a huge area, more than 1,000 hectares, which is like a big piece of land. The lava was nearly 4 miles long and 2.2 miles wide at its biggest. So much lava poured into the ocean that it made a new piece of land, like a little peninsula. The damage caused by this eruption cost a lot of money, about 842 million euros in total. This included money for repairing roads and buildings, like homes and businesses. The banana industry in La Palma suffered about 200 million euros in losses. Bananas are a big part of the island's economy, making up 30% of its money-making activities. Nanchang Changbai International Airport helps about 27,000 people every day. There are only 507 airports in the whole country where this airport is. In comparison, the United States has over 13,500 airports. On March 4, 2018, there was bad weather at the airport. Rain and very strong winds stopped all flights. The roof of Terminal 2 started to collapse. There was a lot of debris on the runway, which was scary for people on planes. No one got hurt when the roof fell, but it was scary for some people. One person felt like it was the end of the world because the wind was so strong. Airport officials thought the building was strong enough, so they changed where new people arrived and started flights again later that day. In July 2017, a city called Yulin in northwestern China got hit by really heavy rains. The rain was so much that it caused a dam nearby to overflow. Water rushed out from the dam and flooded the streets below. It was so bad that the water reached about 10 feet high, covering cars and short buildings. Around 20,000 people had to leave their homes because of this flood. Those who stayed recorded videos from above, showing how the water spilled from the Yushi River and flooded the nearby streets. Some parts of the land around the river were so badly damaged that entire buildings collapsed and floated away. This event showed how destructive it can be when a dam fails. The flood ruined over 17,000 acres of farmland, covered more than 600 miles of roads with mud and debris. About 1,400 houses were seriously damaged, and 43 were completely destroyed. The overall economic losses were more than 38 million yuan, which is about $5.5 million in other currencies. Hurricane Ian was a very strong storm that caused a lot of damage in Cuba and southern Florida at the end of September in 2022. It was a Category 4 storm, with winds blowing really fast at about 150 miles per hour. As of 2023, Ian is the fifth strongest hurricane to hit the United States and the most powerful storm to hit Florida since Hurricane Michael in 2018. Ian didn't stop and destroyed many things like cars, homes, and businesses. There are lots of videos and pictures showing the big mess Ian made. The live videos taken during the storm are the most shocking. They show streets disappearing underwater and the ocean flooding the roads in Fort Myers, Florida, which was one of the places hit the hardest. The barrier islands in Lee County got hit the worst. People who work in keeping everyone safe said the islands were completely ruined and didn't look the same. It's said that the insured damage caused by Ian is between $50 and $65 billion, but there's more damage that insurance doesn't cover. It could be as high as $100 billion when including the money lost from tourism, which is a big part of the South Florida economy. New Zealand has 2 big islands in 16 different parts. Auckland is in the north and has 1.6 million people. Most live in Auckland City, the biggest city there. In early 2023, heavy rain caused big floods in Auckland, the worst ever in New Zealand's history. Water flooded the streets and even a food store. People stayed positive despite the flood, walking through high water. The empty store shelves reminded them of the early days of COVID-19 when things were out of stock. It was kind of funny to see people still shopping in a flooded store. Imagine being asked to work and bag groceries with water everywhere. The floods caused a lot of financial problems. The government said the insurance claims from the floods would be the most ever in New Zealand, apart from earthquakes. The company Foodstuffs asked people to buy only what they needed. They learned from COVID-19 that panic buying causes trouble. They even joked that at least toilet paper would float. Ships that go deep into the sea often get water on them, but luckily they have things called scuppers. Scuppers are small holes on the deck of the ship. They help water to flow back into the ocean. Without scuppers, too much water could stay on the ship's deck, making it heavy and possibly sink. On June 5, 2010, a worker on a ship near Brazil saw big waves crashing onto the deck while taking a quick smoke break. If it wasn't for the scuppers, the water would have made things very dangerous, possibly even sinking the ship. Ships can float because they're not as heavy as the water they're in. They have a lot of space inside that holds air, which keeps them afloat. But if this space fills up with water or heavy cargo, the ship can get too heavy and sink. The ancient Greek mathematician Archimedes came up with the ideas about how things float. He did a lot of this thinking while in his bathtub. If you like this video and want to see more like it, click the link on the screen. Thanks for watching, and make sure to come back next time.